You've had this moment. You're in a hallway somewhere, a hospital, an airport, a car dealership, waiting room, and it's that dead part of the afternoon where you're not hungry, you're just bored. There's a machine glowing against the wall. You put in your card, you press B4, the spiral turns, and the bag of chips hangs there. Doesn't drop, just hangs. And you do the thing everybody does. You look around to make sure nobody's watching, and you give the glass a little shove with your shoulder. Here's what I want you thinking about while you're doing that. You just paid $3.25 for a bag of chips that costs 41 cents at Costco. You weren't tricked. You knew it was overpriced when you walked up. You paid it anyway. And whoever owns that machine wasn't there. They were asleep, or on a beach, or at their actual job. That machine made money for a stranger while you were fighting with it. That's the entire pitch. That's why every third video on your feed is some guy in a rented Lamborghini telling you vending machines are the last honest passive income left in America. I've spent about 11 years looking at small businesses, the way a mechanic looks at engines, pop the hood, ignore the paint, find out what's turning. And vending might be the most misunderstood business in America. Not because it's a scam, because almost everybody who gets into it buys the wrong thing. They think they're buying a machine. They're not. And by the end of this, you're going to look at that hallway completely differently. Let's start with the size of it, because it's bigger and smaller than you think at the same time. The US vending industry traditional machines plus the newer smart coolers is less than site index equals 3 minus 1 is greater than did about $31 billion in 2025 is less than site is greater than. That's bigger than the entire US movie theater business, collected a quarter at a time. Now, the part that matters is less than site index equals 11 minus 1 is greater than about 67% of US. Vending operators generate less than $1 million a year. And small operators make up roughly 52% of all operators, but drive only 7.4% of the industry's total sales. Is less than. Site is greater than. Read that again. Half the players. 7% of the money. So the question isn't whether you can make money in vending. Plenty of people do. It's what decides which side of that line you land on. And the answer has almost nothing to do with the machine. My friend Ray found that out the expensive way, and I had a front row seat. Ray's a good guy. HVAC tech, makes solid money, hates that his income stops the second his hands stop. Around 2019, he calls me up, fired up, because he found 2 snack machines on Facebook Marketplace. Guy was moving to Arizona, wanted them gone. $1,200 for the pair. Ray's math on the phone was beautiful. If each one does $40 a day, that's $2,400 a month. That's 28 grand a year off $1,200. And I said, okay, where are you putting them? Long pause. I'll figure that out. That pause is the whole business. He bought the least important asset first. Ray put 1 machine in his cousin's nail salon. 9 chairs, 40 customers a day, all of them sitting under a dryer with a purse in their lap. He made $19 a week. 19. The chips went stale before they sold. The second machine sat in his garage for 14 months. He tripped over it every single day walking to his truck. Here's the reframe. And everything else hangs off it. A vending machine is not a retail business. It's a toll booth. You are not selling snacks. Nobody wakes up wanting a $2.50 Snickers. You're selling the 90 seconds somebody doesn't want to spend walking to the gas station. You're selling proximity to inconvenience, which means the value isn't in the box. It's in the square foot of floor the box is standing on. The machine is just the mechanism you use to collect rent on other people's laziness and desperation. So when Ray bought 2 machines with no locations, what he actually bought was 2 very heavy filing cabinets. Let's put a real machine on the table and take it apart, because this is where the fantasy meets the receipts. 1 snack and drink combo. Decent spot. Grossing $600 a month. Solid, unspectacular. Real. Cost of goods. Everybody underestimates this. Is less than. Site index equals 17 minus 1 is greater than. Product runs 40 to 50% of revenue is less than. Sight is greater than. And if you're buying at Sam's Club instead of a real distributor, you're at the top of that range. Call it 45%, minus $270. You're at $330. Location commission. The property owner wants a cut because they know what they're sitting on. Is less than sight index equals 12 minus 1 is greater than. Standard range in 2026 is 5 to 20% of gross is less than. Sight is greater than. Say you agreed to 10% because you were new and eager, minus $60. You're at $270. Card processing. This one sneaks up on people. Vending tickets are tiny, so percentage rates run high is less than sight index equals 17 minus 1 is greater than. Typically 5 to 6% per transaction is less than. Sight is greater than, minus about $21. You're at $249. Then the boring stuff that quietly eats you alive is less than sight index equals 12 minus 1 is greater than card reader fee around $9 a month. Telemetry around $5 is less than sight is greater than liability insurance. Because a vending machine is a 500-pound object that occasionally falls on people $6. Fuel and wear to drive out there twice a month, $25. Shrink product that expires, gets stolen, gets stuck, is less than sight index equals 14 minus 1, is greater than industry average runs 8 to 12%, is less than sight is greater than, so $30. Depreciation on a 7-year machine, $25. You're at about $150. $600 a month gross, $150 in your pocket. And that tracks is less than sight index equals 17 minus 1 is greater than the realistic industry averages around $250 a month net per machine, with high traffic spots like warehouses clearing 1,000 or more is less than. Sight is greater than. So let's kill the fantasy right now. One machine is not passive income. One machine is $150 a month and a chore. That's a DoorDash shift with a compressor. But look at that list again and notice what scales and what doesn't. Product cost scales with sales. Commission scales with sales. Processing scales with sales. The drive doesn't. Whether that machine does $600 a month or $3,000, it costs you the same 40 minutes to get there. Hold on to that. It's the most important thing in this business. First, though, the other lever, and the one nobody negotiates hard enough. Price. I ran a machine in a self-storage facility for 3 years. My own. My first one. Mostly to prove I understood what I'd been writing about. Highway access road. Hot as hell in summer. No gas station for 2 miles. I priced water at $1.50 because that felt fair. Ran it that way 4 months. Then Denise, she ran a laundromat 2 units down. 22 years in, that business comes over while I'm restocking and asks what I'm charging. I tell her. She laughed at me. Not mean. The way your aunt laughs when you say something dumb at Thanksgiving? Honey, where else are they gonna go? That was the whole lesson. I moved water to $2.25 the next week. Volume dropped maybe 6%. Revenue on that line went up 41%. Because is less than sight index equals 14 minus 1 is greater than the biggest pricing lever. Isn't your cost structure. It's the price elasticity of a captive audience. A hospital with no food within 400 feet supports $3.50 for a bottle of water. That same bottle in an office break room with a kitchen 30 feet away has to be $1.75 or it just sits there. Is less than. Sight is greater than. Same bottle, same cost, double the price. The only thing that changed is how trapped the customer is. This is why vending is a real estate business wearing a snack costume. You underwrite a location the way a landlord underwrites a corner. Traffic, alternatives, dwell time, and what's in the pocket of the person walking past. Ray's nail salon had traffic. It had zero desperation. Nobody's desperate at a nail salon, they just got their nails done. A machine shop at 2 a.m. on third shift? That's desperation. That's a gold mine. Which brings us to the negotiation, where I watch new operators give away their entire margin in about 90 seconds. Is less than site index equals 12 minus 1 is greater than. Experienced operators open every negotiation at 5% and walk from anything north of 20% unless the location does $8,000 a month or more. At premium properties, plenty of operators pay zero because they frame the machine as a free amenity rather than a revenue share. Is less than. Site is greater than. Sit with that last part. The best commission is no commission, and you get there by changing what you're selling. Walk into an office manager's building and say, I want to put a money machine in your lobby, and I'll give you a slice. You're a vendor asking for space. You're going to pay. Walk in and say, your people leave the building for 20 minutes every afternoon to get a Red Bull. I'll fix that for free, and you'll never hear from me. Now you're solving their problem. Now, you might pay nothing. Same machine, same hallway, completely different conversation. And is less than. Site index equals 12 minus 1 is greater than. A commission isn't rent, and it isn't profit share. It's a cost of goods line. For the location itself is less than. Site is greater than. Every point you give away is a point off your net, forever. Now, back to the drive. Marcus is the guy who taught me the metric that actually runs this industry, and he taught it to me by doing it wrong first. He started with 4 machines, good machines, decent spots, one in Dover, one in Newark, one way out near the Maryland line, 68 miles of driving to service the route. Full Saturday, gone. Every 2 weeks. 4 machines, maybe $900 a month net. That's about $11 an hour once you count the driving, the shopping, the books, and the night he drove out at 9 because a machine ate a guy's 20. Then he did something that sounds boring and changed everything. He sold the 2 outliers and bought 9 machines inside a 4-mile radius of a single industrial park. Same Saturday. Same gas. 11 machines instead of 4. Here's the metric. Revenue per stop versus cost per stop. Every time you open the driver's side door, you've spent money, fuel, wear, and an hour of your finite life. That cost is identical whether you service 1 machine or 6 in the same building. So the business isn't machines. It's density. It's how many machines you can service per hour of windshield time. That's why the big operators win. Not because they buy product cheaper, though they do, because they've got 40 machines in a 6-block radius and a driver who hits all of them before lunch. Their cost per stop is a fraction of yours, and that gap compounds on every unit. And it's why the guy on YouTube with 1 machine at a laundromat, $400 a month, totally passive, isn't lying. He's just showing you the least scalable version of the business that exists. He's showing you the toll booth. He's not showing you the highway. Rough shape of it. 1 machine is a hobby. 10 is a part-time job you can't quit. 50, with real density, is a business. 200 is an asset somebody writes you a check for. 1 piece of technology genuinely changed the math. Most of what gets sold as smart vending is nonsense. This part isn't. Card readers. My friend Priya got in around 2021 and bought 6 used machines, cheap like $700 each, precisely because they were cash only and nobody wanted them. Everyone told her she'd bought scrap. She spent about $300 a unit retrofitting readers. $1,800 all in. Is less than site index equals 17 minus 1 is greater than card readers lift sales 20 to 30%. Is less than site is greater than Priya's lift was closer to 34%. And I think I know why. It wasn't just that people without cash could finally buy. It's that people stopped buying one thing. When you're paying with 4 quarters, you buy 1 item, because that's the quarters you have. When you're tapping a phone, the second item feels like nothing. Her average ticket went from $1.60 to $2.55. The $1,800 paid itself back in under 5 months, then just kept printing. The second effect is bigger and less obvious. Connected machines meant she stopped driving out to check on them. She'd open an app, see what needed what, and load the van accordingly. Is less than. Site index equals 18 minus 1 is greater than. Roughly 70% of vendors now use some kind of tech to monitor sales and inventory in real time. Is less than. Site is greater than. She'd eliminated the worst stop there is, the one where you drive 20 minutes to find the machine still full. Bad news? Everybody knows this now. The days of stealing good locations from an incumbent running dumb cash-only boxes are mostly over. Now the part that lives in the comment section of every Lamborghini video. There's an entire industry built on selling you locations. Guy, I'll call Danny paid a national placement service $3,200 to find spots for 4 machines. Guaranteed placement. And technically, they delivered 4 signed agreements. A tanning salon, a struggling gym, a carpet warehouse with 11 employees, and a church. A church on Sundays. When people are, and I cannot stress this enough, in church. All 4 were real. All 4 were worthless. No clawback because the contract said placement, not profitable placement. Here's the thing about location brokers. If a spot were genuinely great, the broker would put their own machine in it. Anything sold to you as an opportunity was, by definition, passed over by somebody closer to it. Is less than. Site index equals 18 minus 1 is greater than. Some operators make more than 100 cold calls before landing one decent location. Is less than. Site is greater than. 100 calls. That's the real cost of entry, and it isn't money, it's rejection. The $3,200 is somebody trying to buy their way out of the phone calls. It doesn't work. One more, and this one gets glossed over completely. Machines break. Hector had a beautiful setup. 9 machines, tight route, good margins, humming. Then a compressor died in a drink machine in July, in Houston. He didn't know for 6 days, because that was one of his 2 remaining cash-only units with no telemetry. When he opened it, the smell got out before he did. Repair was $680. Spoiled product, another $200. But the real damage was the property manager, who'd spent 6 days fielding complaints and did not renew at the end of the term. That location took him 14 months to land. It was gone in 6 days. And that's before you count the stuff nobody plans for, is less than site. Index equals 6 minus 1 is greater than theft and vandalism against vending machines. Rose about 12% between 2022 and 2023. Concentrated in urban areas and spots with minimal surveillance is less than. Site is greater than. The asymmetry here is brutal. A working machine earns you a few hundred a month. A broken machine costs you the location, and locations are the only genuinely scarce thing in this business. Machines you can buy tomorrow. So let's talk about the exit, because this is where the whole thesis pays off. Wanda ran a route in central Ohio for 19 years. 62 machines. She sold in 2023, and I got to see the deal sheet. The buyer valued it at roughly 2.5 times seller's discretionary earnings, a normal multiple. But here's the part that matters. The machines were valued at about $47,000. 62 units, mostly used, mostly depreciated. The sale closed north of $400,000. So what was the other $350,000? Contracts. Written agreements with assignment clauses at 34 of her best locations, so the buyer could actually keep them. Route density, every machine inside a 15-mile radius. And 19 years of data showing exactly what each location does in February versus July. Buyers in this industry do not pay for steel. They pay for the relationships that survive the sale. This is where most small operators get wrecked. They've got handshake deals with a facilities manager who might quit next month. At exit, a buyer discounts those to nearly zero because a location that walks out the door with the seller isn't an asset. It's a rumor. Ray, by the way, is still in it. He got serious in 2021. 23 machines now, all inside one county, all under written agreement, all with card readers. It's not a Lamborghini. It's about $4,400 a month for maybe 10 hours a week, which is the most realistic outcome anybody's ever going to show you. So here's where I've landed after a decade of looking at this. A vending machine is a toll booth, not a store, and the value of a toll booth has nothing to do with how nice the booth is. It's decided entirely by how many people have to walk past it, and how badly they need what's on the other side, which collapses the whole business into 3 questions. How trapped is the customer? That sets your price. How many booths can you service per hour of driving? That sets whether it's a job or a business. And can you sell the toll booth with the road attached? That sets whether you built anything at all. Everything else, machine brand, snack mix, the vinyl wrap on the front is decoration on top of those 3 answers. The people getting rich in vending right now aren't the ones who found a magic machine. They're the ones who figured out they were in the real estate business the whole time, while everybody else was shopping for equipment. Next time you're standing in that hallway shoving a bag of chips with your shoulder, look at the wall behind it instead. Ask how many people walk past that exact spot every day, and where else they could possibly go. That's the number that matters. That's the only number that ever mattered. If this changed how you see that hallway, hit subscribe. I take apart the real economics of a different business every week, the numbers people actually run and rarely publish. And drop a comment with the business you want next. I read all of them, and the ones that keep coming up are the ones I make. I'll see you in the next one.